All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So on today's episode, we're going to be working on the LS. Let me kind of explain what we're going to be doing today. I essentially went through all my leftover parts, new parts, everything that I have saved off to the side. I have a power steering pump relocation kit for that and bracket. We got a front slump oil pan and pickup, windage tray, oil filter, housing. I have a somewhat complete gasket kit right here. I'm missing one of the gaskets I need for the oil pan, but I'll pick that up here in a little bit. Got a brand new LS water pump. We're gonna go with the car style pump versus the truck, basically for spacing. I have two thermostats. I gotta figure out which one's which. We'll install that. Miscellaneous sensors, some coil packs. I'm not really enthused about these ones, but realistically, this is like a budget build, so I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can. Use the most affordable parts as I can. So that's another reason why we're going with the truck intake. Not my favorite intake, but it actually works really good. It makes more power than the LS one, better torque curve and everything like that. So we're gonna end up using that because those are cheap and easy to source. And the same thing goes with the coils. I like the car style ones that are the square style. They just look more appeasing. Maybe we'll do a relocation kit and then put them underneath the header so you can't see them. Let's dive into getting these parts installed and see where we end up. We're gonna be installing the knock sensors and the knock sensor harness. All right, don't judge me on this, but actually a 7/8 four-way works out pretty good for installing knock sensors. Actually, I've done it in the past, and you know what? You know, the results are there. You know, don't judge the process. Okay, so I'm going to install a brand new harness. Clips on. This is a harness that we have laying around. It's very important too when you guys are installing this to make sure that you have a nice good routing. If not, when you lay the intake manifold down on top of it, you'll crush the wires and then cause a short. All right, so before I install the water pump, I kind of wanted to show you guys what the difference is between the car pump and the truck pump. All right, so this is your car pump. You can see right here that the inlet, that this one comes straight off this way, and then this one kind of comes up. The reason why I feel like this one is a lot better is usually we have low clearances with cars and stuff like that. So it's nice that the hose kind of comes out here, kind of goes to wherever it's going to go on the radiator. Also, air will get trapped because this hose is kind of going up and then it ends up having to go back down to the radiator. So you have this big old kind of arc right here where like air likes to kind of hang out and cause a lot of problems. Overall, this is just a little bit better. The other thing, so actually where the pump is kind of in line, but where the pulley actually sits is a little bit farther out. The only thing that really matters is what crank pulley you're using. So if you're using a truck pulley, the truck pump is probably better for that. You can still use the car pump, but you have to get spacers and it spaces out 3/4 of an inch. Now you have two gasket surfaces. That's what I have in the RX-7. I don't have any issues with it. And it even comes with a little port where I actually put the temperature sensor right there. But for this, we're gonna end up using a car harmonic balancer, and then we'll do the car pump, and then we won't have to have any spacers or anything like that. So everything will line up hunky-dory. Either way is fine. You know, it just depends on what you want to do and what your setup's going to be. So let's install this water pump. All right, now I'm going to install the ICT power steering bracket. We're gonna probably put the power steering pump right here, and then the alternator is gonna be mounted down here. I have this kit left over from the last time I had an LS, and the kit's kind of incomplete. I kind of have bits and pieces of everything. So we're still gonna have to buy the alternator bracket because either I didn't save this stuff or I used it on the RX-7. But for now, we're just gonna do this. All right, so after installing the power steering pump, I don't know what I was thinking. Here, let me show you. So this bracket is meant for the spacing of a truck water pump or a car water pump with the 3/4 inch spacers. As you can see, if there was a pulley on here, this thing's sticking out way past this. I would have to buy a brand new power steering pump bracket. So the other option is to buy a completely new pulley kit, because we already have to buy the alternator kit. So that runs about, I don't know, $150, $160. I still have to buy the crank pulley. So in the nature of being what this build is supposed to be, is very cheap, budget friendly, we're going to opt to go for a less desirable setup and do the water pump spacers. We'll go pick up the spacers. It'll bump it out 3/4 of an inch, and then we'll buy an alternator kit. All in all, that is cheaper. We'll reuse the stock truck pulley, since we don't want to spend the $50 to go buy that. We'll just use the one that I have here at the house for free, and it will work. It'll fit. I've done this before. I was kind of hyped up to do something that was close to the block. So even on the RX-7, we run that same setup. We run the 3/4 inch spacer there, and then this alternator is spaced out. This is manual rack, so we don't have a power steering pump here. But yeah, this is all spaced out for the truck pulley. We're gonna do the same thing with this one. Just the nature of the beast. I'll go pick up some of that stuff here in a little bit, and we'll get this thing reinstalled again. All right, just got back from Summit. Installed the spacers. It takes like all of 10 seconds. So here's kind of what it looks like. It's a little better fitment. I only went out a 1/2 inch with the spacers. It'll cut it kind of close. Hopefully the belt stays on this pulley. You can see over here, you can see that we have plenty of room. You can see where the belt rides on the RX-7, and so it'll be like closer to the edge, so that, you know, I think it'll work. If not, I'll have to get the 3/4 inch spacers in place of these, but I think it's gonna fit. So I think what I'm gonna work on next is we're gonna flip the engine over. I'm gonna install the oil pan, the pickup, gasket and all that, and then seal up the bottom of this engine. So, right, let's get working on that. Since this engine's going into a car that requires a front slump oil pan, we have to change the pickup. So I'm gonna show you the difference between the two. So here's the OEM rear slump one. Goes right there into the oil pump, sits right there. And then you can see, kind of sits right there at the back. There. So this is the old one. Here's the new one. It's gonna go right here like that. And it's gonna reach down into the oil pan right in this area. Another thing, when you do this, I would definitely change this O-ring, or even check inside there, because this was the old one and it was stuck up inside there. If I wasn't paying attention, I could have double O-ringed it or something and caused a lot of problems. This right here will ruin your day real quick if you don't replace it. All right guys, don't be like me and get this thing fully assembled without putting in the windage tray. Dumbass mistake. So that's what it should look like. So I'll put the pan back on, oil filter adapter, and voila. All right, so now that we have it installed for the second time, probably this time, we're gonna rotate it back over, and then we're gonna start drilling the hole for the alternator bracket. So when you do this alternator relocation kit from ICT, you need to drill a hole into the block. It's really not that big of a deal. I've done it before. In order to drill the hole, they supply a template so you can know exactly where to drill the hole. I've kept mine for a couple years now. I'm kind of glad I did, because look, we're using it again. I'm gonna drill the hole and then I'm gonna tap it real fast. So now that we have the hole drilled, we're gonna try to start the tap. Start to feel it start biting. Run it back and forth. So we got it cut all the way through. So we got the hole tapped, drilled. So I think we're gonna install the bracket. All right, so here's what the bracket looks like. Obviously there's no alternator or anything like that. The spacers that's supplied, pretty much the proper length to bolt this up and test fit it. I just need to bolt the power steering bracket back on, and then the pump. All right, so I took the liberty, I jumped ahead a little bit. I put the intake manifold on, got the power steering bolted on. It's looking pretty good. We're kind of coming to the tail end of what we can do to this with the parts that we have. But there's one more thing we need to do, and that is get the crank pulley on. Let's get that installed. That went on pretty smooth. That's the first time I've ever installed a LS crank pulley. Seen that trick before where you just heat it up and slap it on. It almost damn near went on by hand. But then I just ran the bolt down and basically right in line with everything. So it couldn't have went on smoother, honestly. Look at this thing, man. It's looking like an engine. For some leftover parts and a few new ones, you know, it's coming together pretty nicely. Obviously, a lot of things that we're missing, we still need to figure out. But this was a good start to figure out what all the little components that we need. Now I have a much better idea of what I could use out of my pile and install it, and what I need to order. Just saving a few extra bucks. We did have to buy some things that I really wasn't expecting we'd have to buy, but I mean, that's just the way cars go. So, all right guys, that's gonna be it for this episode, but stay tuned for the next video where we finally reveal what chassis that this engine's gonna end up going into. I'm very, very, very excited to share that with you guys, but I'm not ready to spill the beans, so you guys are just gonna have to stay tuned and watch the next episode. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.